really kind of, that we really make sure that people know or start to know what this is about. So thank you for helping us. Really, really appreciate it. And the key is going to be, making sure everybody gets the relief under both the things that were announced by the department the week before our announcement and then our announcement. So I think that both Jesse and Janelle, by you being on, it helps make it real for people. So not only real for you, but real for other people. So thank you. And Sophia, this is going to be summer on prime time in terms of just all the things that we've promised people, how much, how much we really, we have such confidence in the summer app in terms of how we, bring it to deal with it. So are we ready? I'm just going to do this. There's 241 people on already.
They're not talking. It's her. Yeah, they're not talking.
So let me just make sure. Yeah. I cannot.
Randy, you're on mute.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Testing, testing. Yeah. I'm just trying one thing before we start. Okay, sorry. I wanted to make sure I had my gender pronouns there. Okay. So should we start or no? Okay. So we have at this point, good evening, everyone. We have about almost 300 participants on, and we know that there are more that are coming. And someone gave me, I love this shirt. They're going to become collector items. This one says Weingarten versus DeVos. I think we have a few more. Everybody wants to take a picture of it. I think we have a few more in the storeroom. So maybe during the convention this year, we'll raffle them off. But I feel really good about this lawsuit and about the fact that, elections really do matter. And whereas refused to take seriously the millions, frankly, the hundreds were in this horrible Gordian knot, Kafkaesque, surreal, whatever kind of horror movie representation one wants to make. You know, she just didn't make it easy for people to be in the public service and to actually, you know, pay off their loans or get certainly the promise of what PSLF was. And what is, you know, so sad about it is that Republicans thing. It was done in 2007 by George Bush, and it was to kind of say to, you know, youth at the time and others that if you, you know, went into public service and say you were a first generation American or a first generation college goer and you were paying all of your debt or all of your college, or say, you know, your family wasn't rich and you had to, you know, take out so many, every person who went into public service, that if you go into public service and, you know, you have student loans, then after 10 years, if you pay them for those 10 years, you know, or pay 10 years worth of them, then the federal government will take the rest of it. And the federal government, frankly, had 10 years to figure this out. I mean, this was done. I'm not going to say that the, you know, the Arne Duncan administration was perfect. They were not, but they, you know, could have done a better job between 2008 and when they left in 2016. But frankly, DeVos was horrible. And instead of seeing how to redeem this and how to make this easy, you know, you had lots of these student debt operators, you had lots of student loan folk, and they just made things worse for people. And Jesse and Janelle, who are on, are going to speak to this as well. But at the end of the day, what this administration did, and that's why I say elections matter, because this administration, they kind of got what a mess PSLF was, and they wanted to redeem the promise that was made to people. And so it took a while, you know, it took several months. I mean, they had a lot of other things on their plates like COVID and, you know, all sorts of other things like climate crises and other crises, and, you know, and are trying to deal with all of that. But we were very clear with them that solving the student loan crisis was a really important way of saying to people in America, teachers, nurses, firefighters, people in the military, that, you know, that a promise made is a promise that had to be kept. And that's, you know, and frankly, that's what the administration did in these last 2 weeks or these last 3 weeks. So the first was the big announcement about changes to a bunch of the public service loan forgiveness program, administrative changes that we told DeVos that they could do, but they didn't, they refused to do it. I think they made things worse. And those included that, you know, if you put a payment in for an amount you thought you were supposed to pay, that payment should be credited to your account. Or that if, you know, you were in one loan payment and you should have been in another loan payment, the servicer couldn't use the loopholes to keep you out of public service loan forgiveness. So there's a whole bunch of things that are on a waiver through October 2022. And that's important because that really, really means that people are going to have to look to see where they're at on all of these things between now and 2022. And we as a union will do everything we can to inform the hundreds of thousands of our members, as well as people, about what this entails. But that was one. And the second piece was the agreement that we made on the settlement that we did. And that was the one we announced, I don't know, I think it was last Wednesday. I think it was a week ago. I'm losing the time frame here. And that was on this case that we brought in July 2019, because it was just pathetic. We couldn't get DeVos to do anything to change things administratively. And we had so many people who were not getting any answers. And then they were just being told denied. 98% of people were told denied on their PSLF applications. And the Congress tried to figure out a fix. And that was called temporary PSLF. And 98% of them were being denied. So you knew that something was broken within the bowels of that education department. And so DeVos wasn't talking to us. Trump wasn't talking to us. We couldn't get anything through Congress. And so we sued. And I really want to thank the 8 named plaintiffs because, okay, I'm a public figure. So it's easy for me. Every single day I get blasted by Fox. Okay, people. They're not public figures. They're teachers, they're nurses. And what is really great is that all 8 are now getting their loans fully discharged. And that's about $400,000. But on top of that, we got a whole lot of other people. 98% of the people who filed for PSLF got denied. So these 2 big things have happened because of our lawsuit or because of this settlement. And we have someone from the federal government, from the Department of Education, who's on as well, who's listening to this, because we got to work with them to make sure this is seamless. It's great to have the announcement of the lawsuit settlement, but our obligation now is to make sure it works. And so that's what we're committed to doing. So there's 2 big things that were settled with our lawsuit. All the things that the department announced beforehand are part and parcel of our lawsuit. But the 2 big things, 3 big things actually that are different is this. Number 1, everybody who was denied PSLF, who was in the direct loan program, denied PSLF through November 2020, meaning through the time essentially of Trump's presidency. Everybody that was denied it, they're going to get a letter or email or a direct communication from the Department of Education saying that they're going to have an automatic review. Everybody who was denied before November 2020 are getting an automatic review about their denial. And we are going to find ways, unless something that we don't even know of happened, to get you through the finish line. That's the first commitment. The second commitment is that everybody who then asks for a review, who wants a review and a reconsideration, is going to get it. And what we're going to do together with the department is figure out how many payments you have. How many payments you still need, and to make sure we can get you through that finish line. And the entity that's going to help us, separate and apart from the department, because remember, this is a settlement that they are committed to do as well, is Summer. So it's not just the department that's going to say, this is what we think you have left. The second piece is Summer, and they're going to talk about what it is. And frankly, and then I'm going to go to our other 3 speakers. If you don't have enough information I'm told that I have a bad connection and I'm going to be switched. Can people hear me or not hear me?
I can hear you, it's just a little bit delayed.
Okay, so I'm going to be switched in a minute. Let me finish and then you'll switch me. The second you can live with and live without technology here. The second thing I want to just make sure you have is go to aft.org/PSLF resources. So go.aft.org/PSLF resources. And that will get you the whole toolkit, everything that we have that will get you. And we'll put up that that signage. Can you put it in the chat so that everybody sees it? Or unless the chat is disabled, go.aft.org/PSLF resources. So now what I want to do is ask one of our remarkable members who put everything on the line to publicly stand up against DeVos and to help our members get this debt forgiveness. Now, they're not the only thing we're pushing for. We still are pushing for the Biden administration to forgive everyone up to $50,000. We haven't stopped doing that. And we're also pushing for, different changes to PSLF. But what we have done here between the department's announcement 2 weeks ago and our settlement last week is that we have fixed PSLF. PSLF, at least on paper, is fixed. We now have to make sure that the fixes affect and help every single person who was in this quagmire. And we believe that's hundreds of thousands of people. So the first person I want to announce or I want to speak is Janelle Mansell, who's a high school math teacher from, and I'm going to Brainerd. Is it Brainerd, Minnesota? Did I get it right or no?
It's Brainerd, Minnesota.
Brainerd, Brainerd, Minnesota. So she made 120 payments on her loans. She did everything she was told to do. And, her loan servicer, after 10 years, basically for the first time then said, oh, by the way, zero, none of your payments count. And then she applied for that temporary program, which I talked about, and again was denied. And look, her servicer, she's going to tell you this, said, okay, just give up. Like, really? Like, the servicer isn't teaching in schools. Like, the servicer was making the money the servicer was making. Like, how dare you say that to people? But she kept on fighting, and she heard about the case, and she heard about what she was doing. And it's great to have you with us today. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Janelle.
Thank you so much for having me here today. It's my honor to speak to the group. Like Randy said, I'm Janelle Menzel, and I teach math and engineering at a high school in Brainerd, Minnesota. And when the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program was first announced, I was a new college grad, and I was so excited because I was like, oh, this program is perfect. It sounds like it's tailored just for me. And I was so excited, and I wanted to make sure that I was on track. And so I called my loan servicer and said, what do I need to do? I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. And I was assured over and over and over again that all I needed to do was make 120 payments and then send in my application, and my loans would be forgiven. And of course, over time, I would call back and check back in because I just wanted to be very sure that I was on the right track. So I called many times over the years, and even for a while, one of my loan servicers had a little tick box that checked up every time I made a payment that said qualifying payments. So I was led to believe in my online portal that I was making progress. I continued my employment verification and was what I thought on my way to getting loan forgiveness. I was incredibly surprised and disheartened then when I went to apply and I received information that I had been denied. And of course, I called to try to find out more information. I did have a qualifying loan type, but they told me that I was on the incorrect payment plan. But the reasons why I was denied seemed to change every time I called the loan servicer, depending on the call agent that I received. And so I really felt like I just needed to be persistent. I needed to get the right person on the phone. And so I kept calling. And eventually they told me to apply for the expanded public service loan forgiveness. And I was denied again, but this time for a different reason. They said that it wasn't that I hadn't made enough qualifying payments on the correct payment plan, but they said it was because I had accepted a small portion of teacher loan forgiveness through another program, and that disqualified me from the public service loan forgiveness program. And that was not information that had been shared to me with me in any of the calls I had made to my loan servicers. And I had several loan servicers throughout my 10 years of paying on my loans. And so I was just very discouraged. But I kept calling because I really felt like if I could get the right person on the phone, that they could help me. And eventually, as Randy mentioned, I was on the phone one day speaking with a person, and she said, "You just need to give this up. You need to quit." She said, "Do you have any idea how few people are actually accepted to this? You're wasting your time." And basically, I was wasting her time. She said, "This is never going to happen for you." And that was so, like, in that moment, I just couldn't believe it that I had no voice and no recourse and no way forward to say, hey, this is wrong. I did all the things that I had been coached to do by my loan servicer, only to meet this like roadblock, dead end, and just be told to give up. And so it was one day that I received a digital newsletter, and there was a spot to tell your story, a link to tell your story about your loan forgiveness denial. And I shared my story in there and some of my documentation, and I received a call from AFT's lawyer about the public service loan forgiveness lawsuit. And I wanted to join because not only am I an educator, but I have younger siblings who are involved in education as well. And I wanted to see the program change, not only for myself, but also for future educators coming behind me, specifically people that I know and care about. And so I wouldn't have been able to do this lawsuit alone. There is no way I could have taken this on as just a member of the general public. I never could have taken on this big of an issue by myself. And so the union really gave me a voice when I felt like I didn't have one previously. And it allowed me to be part of something bigger than just me calling my loan servicer repeatedly and begging for someone to listen to me. And so the union gave me that voice in the really unfair situation, and they advocated on my behalf. And I appreciate the support and all the work that was done on my behalf and all the other plaintiffs and all the other public servants across our country. And now I feel very lucky to have been part of this process. I have 3 children of my own who I hope will go on to higher education someday. And as part of this process now, I'm able to invest into their future educations, and I'm able to be more aware of the predatory loan servicing, and hopefully can avoid that for the next generation, so that way our future children are not experiencing the same thing. And so I'm so excited for the changes to the public service loan forgiveness program, because I feel like it'll make a direct impact on each person who is in public service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janelle, and thank you for being a plaintiff. I mean, thank you. I mean, it's just, as I said before, people, by putting the face on it, I tease people like I'm old. I paid my student, I remember my last coupon book. I remember my last coupon. I did actually do like a memorial burning of it when I paid my last one. but I paid my loans a long, long, long time ago. But I think people cannot understand that if you think that it's been 10 years and it's somewhere between $200 and $1,000, if not more, a month. And then if you start with $30,000 of loans, and then all of a sudden you got $60,000 and nobody can get anybody on the phone to get answers. And then you get that kind of, excuse my language, crock of shit answer that you got, sorry for cursing. It's horrible. And that's part of what union work is. And that's part of why we kept on trying to figure out which ways can help solve. And for the people who we get this solved for, it's like having a new collective bargaining contract with a 20% raise. I mean, to all of a sudden not have $200, $500, $1,000 every month that one has to pay after one has paid it. But, I want to really thank you for sharing all of this and being so brave to do it, and for seeing that together we can accomplish what's impossible to do alone. So really, thank you. And then I want to just have Jesse, you're welcome. I want to just have Jesse speak a little bit too, again, because, different than Janelle, Jesse is an associate member, and has been one of the members, started as, let me make sure that I have this right, research director and assistant professor at Brown University School of Public Health, a recent AFT associate member, and also had, Jesse will tell the story, but just, a lot of stuff, again, trying to navigate through something when it's, when it's really hard and every single penny counts. So Jesse, I don't want to steal your thunder, and I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Janelle, for sharing your story. I'm always so moved when I hear about these stories. So yeah, I work at Brown University School of Public Health. I'm a research director and an assistant professor there. I'm really excited about being an AFT associate member because our graduate students at Brown are AFT union, and also because of the amazing work that AFT has done at the national level on the PSLF program. I'm someone who's worked in public service for 20 years, not as a teacher or a nurse, but as a social worker, and then now as a public health researcher, always working for nonprofits that qualify under the PSLF program. It's actually a huge program, and it's a really exciting program on paper. And, it was a really great option for someone like me. I wanted to get a graduate degree, but I had to finance my own education, and I had to do that on a nonprofit salary. So paying down student loans on a nonprofit salary is very difficult. I had already been doing that for my bachelor's degree, and I just wanted to be able to have a plan in place. PSLF started right around the same time that I went to graduate school, so it was really on my radar from the beginning. And it was something that allowed me to get more education while continuing to work with people and work on issues that I really cared about. But almost immediately when I signed up, I was starting to experience issues with FedLoan and FIA. It was really hard to get direct answers. I don't think I had the level of documentation that Janelle had, but I definitely blamed myself for a lot of this. It was really not consistent. And I was really pushed into loan consolidation pretty aggressively, both by email, by mail, by phone calls. And that was something that would automatically disqualify a lot of my payments that I had made. So I did end up consolidating after I kind of started the process and was asking about loan consolidation and wasn't getting those direct answers. And then I think I was maybe 2 days into the loan consolidation process when I finally got a direct answer that yes, this would set my count back at 0. And I was like, please, can you stop this? Like, I don't want this to go through. And they said no. But that was literally the first time that I got a direct answer about it, and how it would really affect my, plan to 120 payments, which, you're watching so closely. And I felt really alone in that whole process. So it was such a relief to start to see headlines that really validated that this was a predatory program. This was bigger than me. There was just a lot of shame in dealing with all of this. So AFT was really one of the only organizations speaking out against this. And Randy, the fact that you've been such a vocal leader on such a this national platform has been so invaluable, because I can bring it up to my spouse, I can bring it up to my family without all of that shame. I mean, I still have that, whatever, but it's like something that is such a relief, because if you're a part of the working groups that are not so well organized, so like social workers, like public health workers, which there are so many more people in public health now that COVID is here, you don't have that kind of consensus. You don't know as many people in this program, and it's not something that's really offered as clearly unless you're kind of already searching that out. And these are a lot of fields where master's degrees are pretty much required now. And master's degrees are not the programs that get all of the attention for, financial aid support. Those are the programs that help universities pay their bills. And so you're really financing a huge investment in yourself, and you're doing it through loans. So you really only have these loan forgiveness programs and these kind of commitments to pay for 10 years or to, kind of do some sort of reduced salary service, through some sort of program like AmeriCorps or Peace Corps or whatever. There's not a lot of options for getting that amount down. And I mean, I work at an institution. Brown University is one of the highest, most expensive universities in the country right now. So I see people trying to finance this stuff, and it's hard. But this is a program that's critical for those of us who are in public service and want to stay in public service. We need national representation, and we also need consumer protections to navigate all of this. So I did sign up with Summer, which we're going to talk about soon, I think, but I do feel like even as I go through this process with these next steps, I think I got the email from the studentloans.gov saying like 75 of my payments are going to count again, which is huge. But I still feel very nervous about this process. So I'm really excited about the continued support and attention that AFT is putting on this. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesse. And look, that's exactly what you just said was exactly right, which is this program has been so flawed for so long that we have to give it continued attention. We have to make sure it works until that, it just becomes like second nature, so that we get rid of all the gunk. And so all of the pathways are really working. But something you also said, Jesse, about, so you end up consolidating and you have no idea, and Janelle said the same thing, you have no idea what the terms are of all the conditions of when there's a change. And then all of a sudden you have no idea, you don't know, or then they say, oh, you start from zero, which is just really screwed up. And so the consumer protection pieces are also really important. It was interesting that the last Department of Education attempted to use every argument in the book. Like they were really kind of states' rights kind of people. But then when it came to our lawsuits, they would say, oh no, we can't use any of the consumer protection rules under state law because the federal government preempts them. So the federal government, this is the Trump administration, the federal government is not going to help anybody, but you can't go to the local state protection, consumer protection laws. That's also been changed by this Department of Education. They have lifted that preemption so that people can go to state consumer protection laws. And so they're really trying to peel off the predatory nature of all that, being pretty successful because all these long-term servicers of loans are now getting out of the business because they don't want the accountability that this new Department of Education is bringing with it. So thank you you for sharing with us. And I'm really glad that you were one of the first people that get one of the emails, but then we're going to make sure there's a check and balance. And that's where Summer comes in. And I'm going to ask, what I'm going to ask is Sophia, who is the operations manager at Summer, and she's responsible for the relationship that AFT has. And people are going to say, heck is Summer? Is it like the season? Is that what it's named after? But Sophia was going to tell you what its actually name, what its actual official name is. But this is the bottom line for us. We knew that this process was complicated. We've had a lot of debt clinics. We know it's complicated. And we knew that there are a lot of outside entities that will promise, like if you watch TV, you'll see SoFi promising that they're going to reduce your loan if you sign up with them. But we wanted to work with an entity that could really help be the navigator for our members in all sorts of different ways. And so Summer is already actually saved people, our membership, about $500 million. Yes, I did say $500 million, a billion with a B, in terms of getting them into the right repayment plan without losing the benefits of PSLF. And so what we've done, and this is a member benefit, so it's for free for all of our members, associate members, members who are members of locals who have contracts, members who don't have collective bargaining. It's for free for everybody. It is a member benefit that we pay for through, our finances. And Sophia will talk about what it is and what we're trying to do. This does not replace going to Summer and doing this work, but Sophia will give you a little bit of an appetizer about what we're trying to do with Summer. Sophia.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Randy, for that introduction. And thank you to everyone who's already spoken today. Really, really excited to be here. I love our partnership with AFT and I'm so grateful to be able to offer this benefit to you all who are here today. And so I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what Summer does, who we are, and how we can help with this process. As Randy mentioned, I am the operations manager here on the team, but most importantly, I'm a student loan borrower myself. I came to Summer just like anyone else, totally lost with student loans and in the dark. And I understand that when you sign up for loans, especially right when you're still a teenager, first going to college, you don't have a lot of understanding and there's not a lot of clarity in the space. And so I really saw a major impactful need to want to help other borrowers to reduce or even completely eliminate their debt. So that's a little bit on my background. In Summer, so our mission is to help improve the financial health of student loan borrowers by reducing student debt. And so we are a certified B corporation, and that's something that's also really important to us. But we truly, our entire goal is to simplify this really complex student loan repayment process and to just help every single borrower that comes to us maximize their savings. So and just to touch a little bit on Summer, we wanted, our name is Summer, and we wanted folks to kind of think of easy, breezy. Summer gives you that lightness that typically isn't associated with debt or finances. And so, you keep that in mind. We keep things very, very simple for you. And we just make it really straightforward to access the savings that you deserve. So how can summer help? Again, Randy did mention, but summer is free to all AFT members. You will be able to sign up for summer through the member benefit portal. You can create a free account. We will have a little time for questions, I believe, at the end, but if anyone does have any additional questions or about signing up for summer, about ways to access your account, you can email the team at aft@meetsummer.org. You can also email me if needed at safia@meetsummer.org, but there's tons of assistance available to you. You can also go to meetsummer.org/AFT, and there's also a help button in the bottom right-hand corner. We're always happy to answer any questions and make sure that any barriers to signing up are totally removed and that this is really easy for you. We have already saved, we've had tons of members who have already, we're helping thousands of AFT members to date, and as a result of the announcement, we have had a huge jump in members reaching out and signing up and creating accounts, which we totally support. So please, if you haven't created an account today, or it's just something you're thinking about, please just go ahead and sign up. It should take less than 5 minutes to create an account and get started. And of course, we have our borrower success team, who's absolutely incredible. Our student loan experts, they're there to answer any specific questions that you may have about your student loan situation, about your access to forgiveness, or even just lowering your monthly payment, any other questions that may come up. We're always kind of standing by. We have saved AFT members $170 per month on average with summer, and that number continues to rise. We also have helped save on average of the lifetime of their loans over $50,000 per person. And that's just on average. So just wanted to kind of wrap your head around that large amount of savings that could be accessible to you today. So that
And that
these are
was,
real.
I just
Sorry,
want
go
to
ahead.
interrupt Sophia
Yeah,
for a second.
please,
That
please.
was before these settlements. That was before we got so this was simply in so many ways getting people into better loan options. And again, without somebody having to pay some overage for it. So it's kind of like what SoFi does, but you don't have to pay the lender. And so, but now this is now how we're actually going to make sure that people who have 10 years of payments, how we get their loans forgiven, and also make sure that people that have less than 10 years of payments, they know what the real deal is. So you got, these are the 3 different ways that summer really helps. Sorry, Sophia.
No problem. Thanks for jumping in, Randy, and really emphasizing that point, which is incredible. You're right. These savings are all before the recent announcements. And so we're really, really excited to see how that shifts, especially just over the next couple of months and the coming year before. Yes, so very, very excited. So thank you for pointing that out, Randy. And just to share a little bit more about how summer works. So we have 3 really, really, really easy steps. When you create your account, we essentially assess different program options that have different unique eligibility requirements like PSLF. And we just assess the savings and the forgiveness that would be right for your particular situation. And so we, of course, will consider near and long-term solutions and provide a rundown of the programs that would be most ideal. And typically, if you enroll in a program, not typically, always, if you enroll in a program through summer, like PSLF, we will double check every single person's forms. We make sure that you have the highest chance of getting approved. We make sure there aren't any silly mistakes that we've seen in the past, like someone getting denied for having a slash instead of a dash, like really silly mistakes. We just make sure that you don't have to kind of worry about those issues and make it really easy for you. So of course, Public service loan forgiveness is top of mind, and just want to share that Summer has adjusted our tool to make sure that the new requirements for PSLF are supported, and that you can, if you were previously ineligible, that you have the information that you need, and that you can use our tool in order to reapply. And so we understand that that the Department of Education is offering this waiver with the deadline of October 31st, 2022, which we're all aware of. And so we're really excited that this is going to help more borrowers who were denied in the past, and could really, really increase in savings for folks. We also just want to note that if there are any questions about if your loan types, that if your loan qualifies, which maybe didn't qualify before, we know that the change did apply to direct loans, but now FFEL loans and Perkins loans, especially if they're consolidated into direct loans in the past, do qualify. And so we do have the ability, like in our product, to make sure that this is distinguished, and it's, of course, are happy to answer any additional questions that that folks may have about their particular situation. I did want to highlight that we do have real borrower stories, because I think that it's really important. We're not just talking about numbers, but that these are real AFT members who have experienced savings through summer by signing up, spending a few minutes, and going through the product and asking questions where needed. And so, of course, we encourage you to do the same, but we do want to offer this to as many people as possible. So we really, really, I can't stress enough that I encourage you to sign up for a free account, so that we can assist. We've already heard some really amazing, inspiring stories today, and I did want to highlight one really awesome borrower that we helped last year, Eric, who is a high school debate teacher in Illinois, and AFT member, who ended up saving about $286 per month by consolidating his student loans and switching to an income-driven repayment plan. And then this also helped make him eligible for PSLF under the old guidelines. And now he's on track for over $350,000 in forgiveness, which is absolutely incredible. It is also nice to kind of take a look at the biggest savings that we've experienced, that AFT members have experienced by working with Summer to date. Again, this I anticipate this changing very soon, but it is really, really exciting just to see that our top savers have saved over $30,000 a month, and over $500,000 over the lifetime of their loans. Just like really, really, really amazing savings that are totally possible for anyone who needs to sign up. Also, again, just putting a face to the numbers, and these are just some of the really great feedback that we've received from working with members previously, who were having troubles, feeling a little stuck, and Summer was really able to help provide some clarity in a not so fun situation. So I just want to encourage those who have any questions, who are even wondering if they should take the next step, or what next step to even take, to just sign up and create an account. And we're so happy to help. And again, just want to reinforce that you can sign up for Summer through the AFT membership portal. Again, the account is free, but if you do have any questions, you can always email the team at aft@meetsummer.org, and happy I'll stick around in case there are any additional questions. And thanks so much.
thank you very, very much. And, you know, we have a few, we've done this one as a webinar on Zoom as opposed to, you know, we actually expected a couple of hundred people, but we have like over 600 people who signed up. So instead of everybody seeing everybody's picture, we're doing it as webinar style, but we're lifting up some of our leaders who can ask questions of us. This one was a leader webinar that hey, Shannon, I see Shannon, I see Fred, and I see Beth, and we're going to ask them to ask their questions. And then either I or Sarah or Sophia will try to answer them. But I also just want to say to people, we have a direct relationship with Summer where we pay them for the amount of work that we think is going to be there for the year. We're not making any money off of it. Nobody's making anything. This is really a matter of us as a union really wanting to make sure we make good on this and that people get the benefit of the public service loan forgiveness and don't have to pay 1 cent more than what their loan said. And this is just part and parcel of our commitment to actually make sure that people get higher wages in one way or another, because part of respect in terms of the work we do is to make sure that there is economic dignity. And so that is just part of what we're done. And I just wanted to make sure that I said that to people, because Summer, you know, Summer will, everybody who talks to Summer, Summer's not gonna say, oh, well, you know, if I save you X plus 1, they make some money off of it. They don't. They are really just doing this because we have this relationship and we pay them for every single case that they do. And that's the transaction that we have with them. So I wanted just to make sure that people knew that. So Shannon, why don't you introduce yourself and then ask the question, and either I or somebody else will try to answer it.
Thank you, Randy. Nice to see you.
You too. How's Indiana?
My name is yes, Indiana. My name is Shannon Adams. I'm the exclusive representative for AFT Local 6548 in Martinsville, Indiana. And I think that there's some potential that I'm going to receive the following question. Are Parent Plus loans covered in this particular program?
So they unfortunately are not, but there is a way that they can be. Meaning, and the Sophia talked about this. Fell loans and Perkins, they will already be automatically consolidated. Consolidation is like the key word here. But for Parent Plus loans, they would have to be consolidated before any of the payments count. Did I get that right, Sophia? So
Yes, you did.
they are not, you know, they're just, they don't fall under the waiver rules. But if they get consolidated and Summer can help do that, then they will going forward.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And look, you know, part of what I didn't say before, and then I'm going to ask Fred to introduce himself and ask his question. I mean, I don't know if it took a long time for the department for these rules to be so broken and so crazy, but you know, there's a lot to unwind here. And we are committed to helping our members untangle and get all this implemented, and get the paperwork worked out and get on track for loan forgiveness. But I'm no doubt it's still going to take a while for this stuff to get untangled. So, it could take up to a year for stuff to get untangled. But the great news is there's going to be retroactive application of it for, so that one can see if things, no one is going to get the message that Janelle got earlier that says start from scratch here. And so but I want to urge people some patience, because we are committed to making sure with summer to deal with every single case. But I think that the department is going to have to figure out how to untangle the mess of all these loan servicers, many of which are no longer going to service loans like Navient or Fell. And so I just would urge a little bit of patience here in terms of how these things get untangled, but the union is going to have your back. Fred.
Thank you, Randy. I'm Fred Albert, president of AFT West Virginia, and I'm an AFT vice president. Randy, I want to thank you for hosting this webinar. I think it's been very informative for our members, and I want to thank you and AFT and the 8 bold, brave plaintiffs for stepping forward to do this. I think this is huge for our members and for our union. But I do have a question that keeps coming to me from members. And the question is, this may have already been touched upon, and if it has, I need to ask it again, though, just for clarification. If a member did not apply for loan forgiveness earlier, may they do so now?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And if they're in one of these programs, that are eligible, we're going to do the retroactive, we need the employer certification. I'm
Sure.
looking at Sophia as I'm answering this question, because there's probably a whole bunch of payments that are creditable to this. And but they gotta apply, and we gotta get the employer certification. And then Summer is gonna then be able to figure out what's credible and what is not creditable. And that's part of being in Summer. So yes, 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 yes. Apply, apply, apply.
Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome. Did I get that right, everybody? Beth. Your
That's
question.
terrific,
Beth
Randy.
Conte.
Sure. Yeah, thanks so much for having this. Ironically, we had a debt clinic today right before this started running, and we've been running them every few months. And I have sat with people myself that have been just so overwhelmed with the process. But Chris Goff has been great, and Summer is working out great, and it's awesome that we won this lawsuit. So what is it that people should have prepared in advance of setting up their Summer account? What is it they need to have, all the information?
So, everybody, I'm going to try to find my card. So they're going to need to register for a free AFT member benefit account. And, look, I carry my UFT card. This is my home local UFT. And I carry my member card all the time. Now, most of us don't carry our member card, but, to get a free AFT member benefits account, that means that people are going to have their AFT member ID. Sometimes those member IDs are the same exact IDs as your local member IDs, and sometimes they're different, but we can figure out the crosswalk. That's what our membership department does. And Alva is sitting right here. She's on the web. You see her, you see Alva on the web here too, who's the head of our membership department right now. But once you have either the local number or the AFT number, the benefits website has what I believe to be easy instructions to access this information. And when I say easy instructions to follow, I have gone on the member benefit pay an idiot when it comes to technology. And so, we've tried to make it easy to do this, but ultimately you're going to need either your local number, which will help us get to your national number, or your national number, and then what to access it. And the site is aft.org/member-benefits. I'm going to say it again, aft.org/member-benefits. But if you go to aft.org, and this today is a leader webinar, and thank you, Miriam, for putting that up. If you go to aft.org, you'll be able to find the member benefits piece of it. And, we wanted to do this for leaders today. So you had this sent to leaders, the whole toolkit, including the fact sheet, key points, a sample email, sample social graphics. I did a column in the New York Times this week that we sent to people as well. So we have all this, we have all these things that we sent. And what we can do as well is we can, since we all registered for this again, we can resend the toolkit to everybody again. So everybody who registered for the webinar, we can resend it so that you have it, in hand. Now, what Summer will do when folks register, sorry, I'm wearing my reading glasses today, is that people will need their federal student aid login and password, because they have to actually give Summer permission to look at that anyway. So, because we're not going to look at anything unless our member gives us permission to do it. So the federal student aid login and password will allow Summer to access the student loan information and then be able to tailor their advice to the borrower's actual loan disposition. And what you heard Sophia say earlier is that before we were able to untangle all that was broken with PSLF, we were able to get people into smaller loan payments over a 10-year period of time. And you know what that then means. So a smaller loan payment over a 10-year period of time, the public service loan forgiveness doesn't say that the loan has to be of a certain amount to get forgiveness after 10 years. And so it has actually helped people by getting them into different dispositions without going into any of the deferments or any of the problems that have doubled or tripled the amount of money that people owe. So those are the two things, AFT member ID and then federal student aid login and password. Now, we know there are tons of other questions. And what we're going to do is we wanted to do this kind of leader webinar as quickly as possible, because we made the announcement last week. The devil is in the details with a lot of this stuff, as you all know. And so we wanted to do a leader webinar first. Next Tuesday, we're going to do a member webinar or a member town hall, where we're going to go through a bunch of these things as well. And, whether it's Janelle on the phone or Jesse on the phone or other of the plaintiffs or other of our activists, we want to do that and also have a Summer representative and be able to do this with lots and lots of members. And again, giving people this information. And then over the course of this year, we're going to find ways in different venues to make sure that everybody knows about this. but I want to thank the three leaders that have been on who have asked the question. We have about, between our state leaders and our local leaders, about 3,500 leaders. And we want to make sure that every member really gets this information so that we really find ways to make this promise real and get money back in people's pockets. That's the bottom line for us, how to make sure that the promise is real and we make sure that we, this is really money in people's pockets. I just want to end by saying, thank you everyone for your interest in this. Our members deserve it and so much more. There's so much that people have gone through. And I'm just kind of, I saw it yesterday at the White House where Joe Biden invited the teachers of the year from 2020 and 2021 and had a big ceremony where Joe Biden made a surprise visit, but they had a big ceremony honoring educators, nurses, firefighters. I mean, we were all on the front lines this year during COVID and stretched to a fare thee well. And it is well past time, but I am really grateful that this administration recognized what was broken and did what they could administratively to fix it. And now our job is to make sure everybody gets the benefit of that bargain for everybody. So bottom line is, go to, if you have more questions and you want a debt clinic, you can email highered@aft.org. If you have questions, you can email highered@aft.org. If you go to go.aft.org/PLS resources, you'll get all the resources I've just talked about. We're going to resend those resources. But let me just end by saying, this is promise made, but it takes a union to get a promise that was made actually really redeemed. And that's what we all did together. The plaintiffs, our locals, the amazing people who, both Janelle and Jesse, who are the face of this injustice, and a union that was willing to push and push and push in every which way, and now an administration that heard the cries and figured out. So